When you look at the kind of salaries, someone passing out from IIM Ahmedabad, if you look at the placements reports, you will find some people starting with salaries of upwards of 1 crore per year, which is mind-blowing if you think in terms of just starting your career. Of course, those are exceptions. Not everyone gets that kind of a starting salary. Having said that, when you graduate from any of the top B schools, chances are you will end up with a very good, very well-paying starting point in your management career. So that's one part. But I think the most important part of MBA is, if I had to put the single biggest advantage of MBA over other career choices in terms of post-graduation, it is that an MBA is extremely flexible. Now let me try and sort of lay down that for you. An MBA is extremely flexible in terms of who can do an MBA. So number one, in terms of who can do an MBA, it's a very flexible program in that sense. So whether you've been a science student or an arts student or a commerce student, regardless of what stream you've done your graduation in, as long as you're a graduate, you're eligible to do your MBA. It's very open in terms of who can become a good manager. Anyone from any academic background can become a good manager. Hence that flexibility in terms of who goes in. Now, if you look at the MBA itself, in most of the top colleges, when you look at some of the IIMs and some of the other top colleges, not all, but a majority of the top colleges, the program itself is very flexible. So the first year during your MBA education, the first year is common, where you do a little bit of everything. You do some courses in marketing, some in finance, human resources, economics, systems, strategy. So you get a sense of all the pillars or all the domains of management, because all these are extremely important for all kinds of organizations. In the second year, typically, there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the courses that you can choose. So depending upon what areas you want to specialize in, you can pick out courses more from those specific areas, including areas that are related to entrepreneurship, for example, or marketing or finance, whatever it is. So having done your first year, having done a little bit of everything, you have a better sense what it is that interests you more, what it is that you'd like to specialize in. In fact, some of the top colleges offer even more flexibility, as in you can do your major specializations and minor specializations in more than one areas also. So you just have to do a certain number of courses in those areas to be able to do that. That again gives you a lot of flexibility long term, because you can move from one domain to another later on in your career without sort of having to commit to something straight out of college. So again, a lot of flexibility there. Now if you look at post-MBA, again, flexibility is something that is inherent in the nature of this program, because all organizations, big or small, public or private, for profit or non-profit, all organizations, what is the top half? Management. From the biggest of technology companies to banks to, let's say, FMCG companies, all these, the top half, or in fact the top quarter or the top 10% is management. So when you do your MBA, you're essentially opening doors to the top parts of most companies. Also, it's very flexible in terms of, for example, if as an engineer you want to go back to a company that works in an area that relates to your graduation stream, you can do that, because there also there will be management opportunities, similarly for any other stream as well. On the other hand, if you want to just, वो जिंदगी आप भूलना चाहते हो और कुछ बिल्कुल नए सिरे से शुरुआत करना चाहते हो, तो वो भी ऑप्शन आपके पास बखूबी है. अगर आप सोचेंगे, इनफैक्ट तो कुछ बहुत सारे नाम आज के दिन आप देखेंगे, बहुत सारे नाम और बहुत सारे बदनाम आप देखेंगे, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स भी टॉप एमबीए कॉलेजेस से आते हैं. Beyond that, but if you look at even something like writing, now I'm not saying probably the best writer, but someone like Chetan Bhagat, definitely a great marketing guy who's been able to cut through or develop a mass market in English, which was not as much in existence prior to his foray into that domain, or someone like Amish. So there are some fantastic authors there who've done their MBAs, and probably it is their sense of marketing or tapping into a market or developing a market, knowing what kind of language, what are the distribution channels, and how do they get their traction to their books. I think a lot of that comes from management. Even if you look at someone like probably the topmost cricket commentator for the past 30 odd years, who's not a player himself, not a top-notch player himself, Harsha Bhogle. Again, alright, a small question for you. He went to an IIM. In fact, one IIM gave him the offer and he finally did his MBA from there. Another IIM rejected him. So which IIMs did he get through and which one did he get rejected from? A small puzzle for you to answer. Put your answer in the comments below. In fact, if you Google about Vinayak Lohani, or you would go to parivar.org, is one of my batchmates from IIM Calcutta. We were the only two people in our batch who did not sit for placements in our final year, because we were clear in terms of what we wanted to post our MBA. Both of us took a lot of courage from each other, sitting out of or opting out of those placements. I think if you just read up about Vinayak Lohani, it's an inspirational journey. He started this NGO by the name Parivar, and kind of magnificent work he's done over the past 2 decades. He started in West Bengal, but now he's done a lot of work in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, etc. also. So again, an MBA does not limit you to a narrow career choice. It's very open in terms of what you can do post an MBA. It depends more on how you want to use your MBA rather than an MBA limiting you to कि आप यही कर सकते हो और कुछ नहीं कर सकते. अगर आप फिल्में भी बनाना चाहते हो तो मैं कहता हूँ MBA is something that will help you be smart about how planning the finances or getting the right people or marketing it as it should be marketed. So all these things point towards a single biggest advantage of MBA, which is flexibility. कोई आपकी ऊपर सीमाएं नहीं बांधता है. ये एकमात्र प्रॉपरली ऐसी एजुकेशन है जो आपकी ऑप्शंस कम नहीं करती, आपको एक नैरो डीप डोमेन में नहीं लेके जाती, आपकी ऑप्शंस खोलती है. अब आप इसको इस्तेमाल कैसे करना चाहते हैं वो दारोमदार पूरी तरह आपके ऊपर है. So that's something you should probably think of. The other thing is, if you are not 100% sure that you want to do a higher education in the same area as you're doing your graduation in, or you're not sure about the kind of job you want to begin with, an MBA will give you 2 more years to think and try and answer that question before you jump or before you board a train that may not be going to the same destination as you desire to travel towards. Campus life is great, you know that as well. So if it opens your options and probably gives you 2 more years to think about what it is that you really want to do, I think that's a fantastic option to have. So keep these factors in mind, especially if you're not sure and if you want to keep your options open, if you want flexibility, then MBA is probably a fantastic option for you. Alright then, see you soon again in another video. That's it for now. Bye bye. Take care.